We had a very interesting few scale-ups. Let's just say that was a good warm-up for where we're going to go right now. And I really have the pleasure of having such a good panel here. And one of our panelists also is going to join us live. Just that we say that we still know that we're in the pandemic time, and like we're having to, let's just say, have things hybrid. It's kind of also the pun, not to put everybody in one place, not to put all the eggs in one basket. So we would like to really try to dig into this whole idea of investment for startups and scale-ups. Let's just say that I'm sure that some of you guys deal with both of them. Some of you guys are in more later stage, so you're mainly going for scale-ups. And let's just say, considering the very limited amount of time that we have, we're going to way more focus on two things. First, only on the scale-ups. Second, only on the interaction between the investment side and the scale-up. So I'm sure that there are lots of other aspects that we can always discuss it in the future, but for the time being, we're just going to stick to that part of, let's just say, the general topic. But if you would like to have that, we would like to have two different things. A bit of sense of, let's just say, who the audience is going to be for us. And at the same time, let's just say what you guys are doing. So let's just say that, if you don't mind, Natalia, we're going to start with you. A quick introduction about yourself and the company you're presenting.
Hi, everyone. I'm based in London. I have a family office which I set up after launching, after having my own investment banking firm for 8 years. And before that, I was at Morgan Stanley. So I represent probably as a person two sides, because I used to be entrepreneur. I'm still entrepreneur in my heart, but I tend to become, I moved into investing side 4 years ago.
Oh, perfect.
Hello, everybody. Robert Łukowski. I'm a founder and CEO of COVID Angels. This is the business angel club based here in Warsaw, and we serve both sides. So on one side, we associate angel investors, quite a large number of them, and help them to become an angel investor, and then help them in investing in startups. And on the other hand, we try to support startups by matching them with a large number of angel investors and creating some value out of it.
And I got used to see online mostly. Yeah, the COVID time. So I'm Polina. I'm representing BNP Paribas, where instead of implementing the startups, we also started financing them. And I believe that we are the most flexible bank to do this. I hope I will have a chance to get into details a bit today.
Thank you.
Last me. So today I'm representing AT Energy, which is a pan-European investment fund. We are early stage investor. We're investing in the energy sector, and our goal is to make Europe carbon free until 2050. And in the past 10 years, we invested in more than 400 startups, €500 million, and we're still looking to invest more. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we going to have Sama too also?
Yes, not sure if everyone can hear me. Does it work well?
Hi. Yes, very much.
Perfect.
So if
hi,
you can
everyone.
also introduce yourself.
Yes, sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Sama. I'm from London today. I was hoping to go, but I couldn't make it, so sorry for that. And well, I'm an entrepreneur now, but I'm also an angel investor. Before that, I was working for AWS, leading a program in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, connecting enterprises with startups, so enterprises could invest or partner with startups. And before that, I was in the corporate acceleration or investment side for early stage startups, which we moved to scale-ups actually with O2 Telefonica. So I was with them 4 years, 2 years in Latin America and 2 years here in London. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Because I have a better understanding of the, our speaker here, but can you just say very quickly, like how Box is supporting the scale-ups, that we will maybe have a better understanding of how to open up the conversation?
Yes. So with Boxy HQ, I mean, we're not investing in startups. It's an open source startup that is helping startups be enterprise ready. So basically, we provide technical compliance features that they could plug into their solutions. So very dev tool, open source, cybersecurity, like that's the intersection. But I'm also an angel investor, and I have been helping other corporates with the corporate venture capital initiatives in many ways.
Perfect. I mean, it's really hard to find like 5 people that they have all synergy with each other. So let's just try to take advantage of that. Again, by the same order, let's start from here. So when we talk about scale-ups and investment, where do you see the biggest problem?
Which one to choose?
It's a good one. You know, it's like, it's about, you have to operate with reliable data. We have too much data, and wisdom and secret is in processing what you really need to process. But you know, like, again, people can submit to you lots of information. We live in a world where we are saturated with data. There is no anymore lack. And if, you know, you told me one problem, one. So one, I would say, reliable data in sufficient detail that help me answer all questions I have in the most efficient way.
Reliable data. Robert?
Yeah, we're meeting here in Warsaw, Poland. So probably would be interesting for you to have a look at regional challenges that our startups from Central Eastern Europe have. So our experience is that scale-ups has to go international. The fastest the better. So we see that our ecosystem is developing. We have a lot of seed investments. We have also growing number of scale-ups, but there is still a significant gap in terms of all the resources necessary for efficient international expansion, and we see that many startups from the region they start operating on the local markets, so they create products that fits the requirements of Polish local, for example, in Poland, Polish customer. And then when they start international expansion, of course, they need some capital, they need some support and so on. But very, very often, even if they get investment, they face some challenges with not only efficient go-to-market strategy and implementation, but also some product challenges. So what we try to do, we try to bring as many international connections, co-investments, and knowledge to support the Polish startups in early in understanding what's necessary for serving international markets early enough not to have these challenges later on way.
I mean, you touched on so many points that I'm definitely going to go back on that one. But maybe if what we can try to put is maybe Series B gap as one of those main factors, right? And maybe Paulina, you can also.
I would add here the sales strategies. Guys, just please do not focus so much on another round. Just focus on sales, because if you're able to sell effectively, to gain new customers, for example, we can provide you with some working capital up to 2 million zlotys. So we do not want your shares for that. We will cooperate closely with your venture capital fund. We will try to help you find new customers and partners through the BNP Paribas Group, both in Poland and abroad. But if you're not able to sell and convince us with it and with a great product, it won't work.
I mean, I'm not plugging anything, but this We Crash on Apple TV, like it's really, like, for me, it's eye-opening, because like for people that are not inside the startups and scale-ups, and I was like, oh, this dude is crazy. But when you're inside, and I was like, what is the strange about this thing, right? And I was like, oh, this year we had minus $1 billion. And I was like, yes, international expansion. Let's just open up 2 more locations, right? So it is a very strange thing, right? Like you have $1 billion of valuation and no sales. Or even if you do, it's not profitable. So yeah, and Michael.
So probably I will continue with the sales topic. But I think that the first thing is to build very meaningful relationship with your investor. and I think it's not kind of like a contract. I think it's a relation for next 5-10 years. So the first of all, build very meaningful relation, with BNP Paribas or with us, and then go with the sales. And what we do at the In Energy, we not only invest in the startups, we invest very early, but we also have sales team. So we have investment team and also quite big sales team across Europe, and we're trying to help startups sell. So sometimes we invest to the startups that don't have any revenue, and we're trying to help them to do that. And going to national, because we're investing, across Europe. So we have startups from Spain, and we're helping them to sell in Poland. And it works, but also it's really hard, to tell them that go outside Spain, invest in Eastern Europe, or talk to the Polish startups, invest somewhere else. So I think really focus on the scaling up internationally and work with your investors. I think Paulina, you mentioned you are supporting as well in sales, and we also do that, which is very, very crucial one.
And Sama?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think one step before that, from my point of view, is understanding your type of industry and your business model, right? Because depending on that, you might be able to raise, I don't know, 100 million without having revenue. And it might be the case that at that stage, at the Series B, I mean, metrics are going to speak for themselves. But when you don't have the traction from the revenue side, you might need it from the consumer side, user interaction, or developers engagement if it's an open source startup. So it will depend. So I think for each startup is different. So it's good to understand what industry you're playing at, but also the business model and the vision that you have. Then I think it's a great point about the internationalization that it has been mentioned. So I always like to say startups and scale-ups need to act global, but think globally, right? So you start focusing on what it's working right now, but you also have to start thinking ahead and strategically on like what is going to be the next market and why. And not necessarily is going to be the biggest market, like let's go to the US or something, because sometimes it doesn't make sense, and your resources or your strengths are going to play better in another space, right? So I think those two things are key to mention. And then, of course, as it has been mentioned as well, at the end, you're going to receive the funding because there's a relationship between you and the investors. So you need to start building that. And the best way that I've seen to do that is to start getting the connections when you don't need the money, right? If you need the money and then you start reaching out to investors, you're coming from a I need you point of view, right? Well, it's much better to reach out saying, hey, we're going to plan, we're raising this next round in 8 months, 12 months. I would like to know more about you. So it gives you like this equal sense of like, I want to understand what's your value, and I want you to understand my value proposition, right?
Perfect. I try to just put it here. So reliable data, Series B gap, sales, a relationship with investor. I think that's a big problem. Like a lot of startups, they said, I have a pitch. And I was like, but for whom? And I was like, I have a pitch. And it was like, yeah, but you do the same thing for sales and for investors and for customers. And that's, I think, that's something that is a very important thing about the relationship part of that and the business model and the global approach. I think there is a big elephant in the room these days, and especially when the numbers go up, let's just say this topic gets more and more hot, and that's valuation. Like I see that right now, even some startups are basically just lowering their valuation just to be able to be more investable. And I think the higher we go in the, let's just say, series, that really changes things, right? Because I especially know, for example, like Energy and Cobin Angels, they do even like early stage, and that is a special time. Because I just sit down with myself and with my spreadsheet, and then I just think that my valuation is 10 million or 1 million or 100 million, depending on how today I feel, or did I have my coffee or not. But when you're in the Series B, everything changes. And especially as a point of family office, I'm sure that you deal with this every day. So what is your take on valuation?
It's an interesting one, it's art, both. As a family office, when I look at someone who bring me a particular, information saying why it's valued at XYZ, it has to make sense. Ultimately it's art, but it's art supported by numbers. I am a very pragmatic person, down to earth. We know valuation differs among continents, among regions, even among startups who pretty much offer product or service in the same spectrum, in the same area, but businesses are valued differently. It's also a factor of confidence, how confident you are, how strategic you are. You know, if you think today about your end, what exactly you are trying to achieve? Is it a lifestyle business? Or on another hand, are we talking about, you know, business that can be scalable? Again, limit. Is it, you know, country level? Is it continent level? Is it world level? You know, if you understand, you have to understand, you know, people who are invest, they are savvy people by definition. If you use right language, if you know your product inside out, if you are a right person to make it happen, if you surround yourself with people who make this circle complementary, full, complete, and you have that inner strength, you know, inner gut instinct, gut feeling that this is something really cool. It has to be cool, but it has to be, again, conveyed in a way that you intrigue investor, but in a very proper way, in a very deep. It need to have substance. You need to say why you. You know how exactly you are unique. You know, it's again summing up. It's an art. But art, which is a product of a hard job, homework done properly, when you can nail down how are you going to progress with this company when issues will come up. Are you a person who can face challenges? Are you a person who know where to plug in quickly enough to address any problem that will come, because it will come.
I mean, again, a lot of very interesting points, but I'm just going to add one thing. Churchill said the only statistics that you can trust are those that you falsify yourself. I really think that really goes a lot, let's just say, into the startups, because then I was like, show me your valuation. And I was like, no, this is not the right type of valuation. Let me fix it for you, you know?
And I would love to add, if I may, you know, you mentioned about, you know, some, you mentioned some companies are, you know, for example, you know, they would come to market with valuation which is less than actual value of a business. It's their own strategy. Because if you go to market with valuation which does not reflect its intrinsic value, you actually say to the investor, in particular in the Western world, you know, my experience, I don't believe in my business that much. You should never overvalue, but equally you shouldn't undervalue. You have to be consistent with your valuation. You have to network accordingly, know right people, and you know what? Talk to many different investors. Some will invest, some simply will give you intelligence. You will be aware, and those who are aware will arrive at most accurate valuation.
I mean, sometimes I'm surprised. Like Instacart, I think, was one of those newses that was out there. They cut their valuation by 40%. And now it's like 24 billion. If any one of you guys is looking for money, like just think about how many billions their investment and themselves lost by just touching 40% of their valuation there. So I can even go back to Robert, because let's just say that, no offense to anybody else, but when somebody is dealing with angel investors, they are way closer. I would say even to family offices, right? Because they are literally their own money there. And that is the point that, let's just say, any profit or loss gets way more personal. So how do you start, let's just say, preparing those scale-ups and startups to, let's just say, prepare themselves that then later you as an organization that deal with those people with real money in their hands, they're not going to come back to you? Because I think that's a very sensitive, let's just say, point for all of you.
Thank you for the question, but let me take it from a bit different angle. What's the core of startup? It's to build a business to create the value fast, yeah, because it's a global race. So the valuation is probably important, but I think the more important is to get the right resources, also right investors. So sometimes the investor that will accept the highest valuations can be not the most effective choice for funders. Sometimes, for example, we see very often that on seed stage in Poland, funders are coming to us and they want to have angel investors because they can support startups not only with the money but also with all the support angels typically get, and if there's a good match, the value creation is much more faster, efficient, and everybody is happy. And the second point of view is that if you raise the bar high, if the valuation is high, it can be done, but the next round investors have to believe that from this level they can still make his return, so the expectations to grow will be even higher. Yeah. So from our experience on angel phase, I mean seed, we very often we like to avoid the valuation discussion. So we use safes or convertible notes, because safes are not possible in Poland because of the law. If we talk about Web3 projects, we use SAFT, and it's similar construction based on future tokens, and very often we support our scale-ups in Series A, Series B. So we discuss with VC funds, with international investors, with family offices, and of course, after investment is done, the funders and investors are sitting in the same boat, and everybody wants to help the startup to make this progress. So from this discussion, again, it's important to balance between the valuation expectations and the quality of investor, actually for each round. Yeah. So I strongly believe that by good selection, good matching, we can grow much faster than just having focus on financial performance purely.
Amazing. I mean, I hope we will have somebody from media just to write everything down. It's a good article, Again, I'm sorry, I'm just keep giving you quotations, but also Reid Hoffman said that entrepreneurs jump off a cliff and build a parachute on their way down. Too little time to be a bit too quality and let's just say quantitative, let's just say detailed, when you really feel that if I'm not going to be fast enough, I'm just going to be with the head down the road, and then there will be no time for me to do. Yeah, I think it was also the guys from SoftBank that they say, like, who is gonna get the money, the madman or the wise man, and that's also one of those things that make things complicated. But I'm just gonna say something to Paulina as let's just say a very old man here. Like, I made my first startup from a bank. I literally went to the bank and I had a flat, and I just said that, like, that's something that I can put there, how much money I can get from the bank. And that took me, let's just say, a month with all the paperwork and everything, because I had something just to show that I can pay the money back, even though that my idea was just a piece of paper. And then that was it. But now I just have to prepare a pitch deck that is based on some, let's just say, hypotheticals. And then after that, not everybody is also as smart as the investors that you have, and then try to go back convertible notes. Some of people know, like, this is my money, just go there and burn it. But you just have to talk to me for 6 months. I was talking to the guys at Google Ventures. So it takes us like 2 to 3 years sometimes just to basically do that investment. And I was like, I don't even know where I'm going to be in 2 to 3 years. So where do you really see the traditional role of a bank and the new ones into this new world?
This is a question. Actually, I can talk a lot, because these are different angles of the situation. I believe that because technology and financial abilities, these are two different stuff. And I would say that there is also one more. This is being like a CFO on call. So I see the role of a bank, and this is basically the role of my colleagues in the team, to be the financial partners, financial managers, both to our startups and to our venture capital funds, our partners, that we sit together and try to figure out how to help effectively both to the fund and to the scale up with the tools and the knowledge that we have. Yeah, so this is a completely different role. Yeah, so we first sit with you. We want to get to know your business. We won't ask you on your flat or your house or your grandma. We don't want you to jump off the cliff. We want you to grow. Yes, and we know, we are humble, we know that you know your technology better, that the venture fund or the business angel knows, let's say, the scalability better, but we are perfect on financials, yes? And we are more flexible. I believe that we are the best, the most flexible bank these days, because we believe, and we believe it as a group of BNP Paribas, that this is working with the companies of tomorrow. This is strategically important stuff for us. Yes, so this is completely change of the mindset of the bankers, which I'm really proud of, and I believe we can be just the partners to grow the business together, both with the venture capital funds, with business angels, and of course with the scale-ups.
Perfect. So we had a lot of risks that were being averse. So it's just like, show me a solid data, show me the real money. But then we have Michael and your environment that you always mention that you're ready to take the risk with this, let's just say, startups and scale-ups. So where do you see that angle?
Yeah, so our idea is to to de-risk projects. So we invest in the startups, in the projects with revenue, sometimes without the revenue, but sometimes we go to research institutions and we're looking for the teams, and then we'll build a company. And something that we do, I think there is a deadline this week, something called ET Jumpstarter. So if you have a team, research team, you still don't have a company, you can register. I think the deadline is on the 10th of April. But we're also looking at companies that have very nice ideas. I mean, teams have nice ideas, but it's early to invest for VC, too risky. So we go there, build a team, help them to have sales. And I think sales, as we discussed, quite important, because I think I can also that if you have one sale, then it's kind of like reference to the next one. And especially when we're dealing with the bigger project, energy project is really, really important. But also we invest in a big project like Northvolt. We were one of the first investors in the Gigafactory. So I think this is quite important. But just general, also summing up what we said, I think in terms of fundraising, what is really important to raise as much as you need to achieve your next milestone. I mean, don't raise too much, because you want to have a still place in the cap table. But also I think that what you said, think about this strategically. So you have fundraising for the Series C or A, then think about the B. What will be next investors in B? So think about whole the process starting from the pre-seed until the end. But also it depends. I mean, if you want to have big value and then sell to Google, then maybe you need to go to the VC fund that will give you the biggest the biggest number. But if you want to grow, maybe go to someone who have more smart money, but will give you less valuation, but it will be more meaningful relationship. And I think also that we tackle is timing, which is quite important, because you cannot do fundraising and company building. So don't chase the biggest valuation. Just try to understand what do you need, and then go build a company.
I would wish to add something in here, because we do also invest with our colleagues from different banks. We do it together. But these days, when everything is changing so much, I believe that one more thing is important, to have numbers that can be justified. Yeah. Yes? Because the first question is why? Yes, so from where you have those numbers, yes, what they want to achieve. These are simple questions, and sometimes the answer is not that simple. So I would say that having justifiable numbers, important.
I would love to add, if I may, keep it simple. Again, valuation, I absolutely agree with everyone who, different angles on the subject. It should make sense. And it may, every business different, every investor different. What works for you may not work for me, and vice versa. I always believe you have to probably step back sometimes when you have, too much information and, too many conversations and too many offers, and just take time to reflect on your own. That's at least what I do, always. And I believe it settle all information that comes in, and you have this wonderful feeling within your body, which is called gut instinct, that has been my massive helper, biggest helper ever in life, in anything, business included.
Again, I'm making notes for myself, even more than that. But Yeah, especially what you guys did with Authentic. For me, I'm still surprised how did that happen. Like three banks that they usually call each other
And two
competition
VCs.
and two VCs. So like it's one of those things that more sounds like a joke than a reality.
No,
It's
this
like
is reality.
three banks and a VC just went to the pub. Just like you really don't know like how this is gonna end.
Kind of look like it, yes. We actually talk to each other. Yeah, we appreciate each other. We talk a lot. Yeah, so this is not like that the decision was made some top down. Of course, we needed to ask. Yeah, finally, if our bosses agree. But I say that this was, let's say, it comes from, let's say, the down and go to the top. So the relations in the market are really, really good. And guys, I encourage you to talk to all of us, because when we think about scaling, so we would not be able to scale Authentic so much and build a kind of standard of e-signature, of signing the documents remotely, if we would be the only bank doing this. Yeah, so this is the only way. Yeah, so if you want to scale, build bridges, not burn them.
And
Oh my
humor, I apologize for interrupting, the power of humor, good humor. Like I remember when I came to London 18 years ago, when I started my first company, absolutely, impression was, you are from Ukraine. Do you know how West works? And you know how people can be. Sometimes they don't tell you in words, but body language tells it all. And I treated it with genuine humor. I thought, okay, you know what? Not a problem. I keep going. People will always also, tease you for a purpose. Can you sustain critic? How do you function under pressure? How do you function when someone make unjust assumptions about you without any foundation? Are you going to explode, or are you going to turn it into, humor? Humor is very powerful. When it comes to money, when it comes to entrepreneurship, you have to be a good psychologist on top of everything. You have to build chemistry. You have to have ability to turn people who are skeptical about you to ultimately become your supporters. And like banks, talking about banks, I remember I had my first company wasn't scalable business, but I loved it. And I came to investors and I was told, look, but you can't scale your business. I took it like at first, what do you mean I can't scale? I can grow it. He said, no, but I can't imagine to invest. But you know what? Maybe I'll invest a bit just because I like you. So kind of sometimes you can get lucky. You will be not mainstream, but ultimately you will get money you need, and that's all you need. And then you can start company 2, you can start company 3, and those guys will make money on your company 2, 3 more. Simply at first, they saw you, spotted you, understood angle, and like you as a profile.
Yeah, the founders heart. This is the most important stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I think there's never took it personally. I mean, when you be fundraising, you hear 10 times no, but it's not because of you sometimes, because VC don't like your idea. Because
50 times no.
Maybe
10.
50 times no, but maybe it's better to have no, kind of like from VC in the week, rather just wait for a few months. But it's not personally. Sometimes VC don't invest because they don't believe in an idea, but it's not personally because it's not the right choice for the VC. So never took it personally.
I think after Reid Hoffman and Churchill, I can just give another quotation from Rocky Balboa that he says that it's not about how hard you punch, but it's about how hard you can get punched and keep moving, right? I think that's a big part, right?
Sounds like a corporate world.
Yeah, exactly. But Sama, let's just go back a bit on the technology side. How do you really feel that technology can try to somehow help both, let's just say, the investment part and the scale-ups to, let's just say, see each other more eye to eye?
I mean, I think with COVID, we have seen, right? Now you don't need to be at a specific place to join a meeting or to join the table. So it's definitely opening many doors. And that helps talking to the fact that you could get a higher valuation at a different market. That has bring like different investors from, I don't know, the US or China, Singapore, to look at more startups in Eastern Europe, Latin America, and other emerging markets, right? So I think, I mean, technology is key. I mean, it's good. There's many platforms being built to bridge this gap. But then going back to the question that you had before about valuation, I wanted to share also my point of view as a founder, right? Because I think like one of the key things for me was to understand that with the same business, with the same startup, you could raise 1 million or 3 million, and in both cases, I'm going to be given the same stake of my business, which is going to be around 20% more or less, right? But the only thing that is going to change is who is going to be the investor that is going to be giving the money. So, and some people have mentioned it, right? But you need to make sure that you're going to the right investor with the right valuation, right? Uh, in our case, we raised a couple of $1 million just with a PowerPoint, which is insane in many markets, especially in emerging markets, right? Like, how are you able to raise that money if you don't have anything yet? And we knew that. That's why we decided to talk to a specific group of investors, the ones that we knew that they were going to be able to actually do that. And I tried to reach out to many emerging markets, VCs, investors, corporate venture capitals, and it was really hard. So I think it's key to don't get trapped on the valuation. As they say, I think you have the real business, which your valuation could be here because you're not making enough money. And then you're selling a bit of smoke or vision, which is here, right? You have to make sure that your valuation goes middle point of what you think is going to be feasible, like how much you think you're going to get of this pie, and what you actually have. So you're never going to be asking for money at the valuation or just your revenue, right? You have to bring the vision and the opportunity next to it. But yeah, just wanted to add that.
Thank you. I think I get one inspiration that maybe we didn't discuss it a bit in more detail. Can we talk about your jurisdictions, like which parts you're mainly focusing and which parts you're not going, like, because that's also very much changes the whole conversation.
You know, for me, I am quite opportunistic. I operate with my own money. You know, I always followed what makes sense to me. You know, I need to buy people. I don't care where they are from. I don't care where they are based. It has to be a good offer. You know, people have to be with integrity, but again, geography comes, unless, you know, structurally, you know, when we structure a deal, it makes essential sense to pick up geography. I don't care.
So totally agnostic.
You know, very much. But again, you know, I built massive network global in my 21 years. You know, I traveled a lot around the world. I think I've been on plane more than on ground. And, you know, I interviewed in my life 800 investors when I was absolutely driven to have a powerhouse in London covering Ukraine. I took it personally at the time. I didn't like, you know, perception about country. So I think that served me a lot in my career, you know. And I understood one simple logic. People are people everywhere. Opportunities can come from everywhere. I don't like prejudice. I don't like geographic, you know, preferences. I judge opportunity on its substance, not on cover.
So good news for entrepreneurs from Antarctica. Finally, somebody is going to invest there.
It means they are strong. If
Definitely.
Definitely.
I mean,
I like it's a good quality to
I
have.
think you have to also stay in Warsaw because it's not that different. So, and Robert.
What would like to hear?
I mean, you know, the truth. I think that would be good.
No. I'm in a position because I work with many angel investors, and they have different strategies. They some of them like this, some other are looking for something else. So from this perspective, we are agnostic, of course, but we try to understand both sides. So when we analyze startups, we have quite a large number of them. And this is usually startups in end of product market fit and international expansion phase. Yeah. So when we analyze them, we focus, of course, of the typical areas that all the investors are looking for, like team, product, market, competition, and so on. But what is the maybe differentiator? We try to understand what are their challenges in the next 1-2 phases of their development, what is missing there, and how angel investors can support this. Yes, and we believe that by matching them and looking for these synergies, maybe sometimes 1+1 can give 3 or maybe even 4, and that's our job. So we try to understand both sides, and of course not to be biased by anything, but by looking for how the value can be created by our job.
Okay.
So statistics.
Paulina, I'm not even going to just make it that easy for you because BNP Paribas is not even just a bank, right? So you're even, let's just say, presenting a group of companies that not only I have to ask about the jurisdiction, I also have to talk about, let's just say, the connection between those entities and the jurisdiction, because I think that will clear the picture a bit better.
Yes, so this is not that complicated, but yes. So I will start with the implementation. So first of all, the answer or the road is quite easy. Yeah? So we know as an innovation team exactly the priorities on the tribes. So you can call me anytime or anyone in our team and ask, hey guys, does my technology can work with you? I will say, well, it fits, for example, one of the priorities, but if it work, I don't know. I need to check because I'm not sure if it will work with our, let's say, legacy, with the technological stuff stack. So many of the scale-ups, startups are, let's say, quite nice when they are treated as standalone topics, yes, standalone tools. But when it comes to combining it with different system and data from the bank, well, it may blow off. So we need to check that, yeah? So we need to be humble and we need to do a little bit of digging, yeah, to give the brief answer, okay, it may work. That's for the implementation part. According to supporting companies with the financial and the business growth, so yes, this is the group in Poland. So these are the real estate, these are insurances, these are vehicles, of course, and transportation. So basically, we are mostly focused on the things that we know, but I may tell you that in our current portfolio, when we discuss the financing and growing the companies, they're everything. Yes, so we've got medical tools, medical stuff. We have e-commerce. We've got IoT, and thanks to the fact that part of our team is coming from the innovation ecosystem, Polish innovation ecosystem, these people are not corporates at all. So we know whom to ask if we are not sure, yeah, if the business, let's say, or the technology is fruitful and will last, for example, or is able to be scaled. So we just check it. Yes, we are check and we try to be humble. And if I literally clearly do not understand what you're talking to me, I will tell you that.
I mean, you also have, I really think a lot of corporations comes from the culture of their managers. But when it comes to the scale of, let's just say, BNP Paribas, I'm not sure. But knowing Przemek and how humble and easygoing he is, I'm not sure how much that really affected the overall structure of what we see.
It is. Well, this is basically the mindset. Yeah, I remember the bank when I joined it a few years ago, and it was a completely different company. And now the openness, the flexibility, the humbly, yeah, just the feeling of being humble and supportive to the market. This is the most important thing. So it's good to have that CEO, actually, who's also keen on the startup world and knows everybody. So this is a lot easier to talk on the stuff.
It's not every day you just say CEO of a bank is a cool guy, you know. So, yeah. So, Michael, about Innergy, because you're also all over. So.
Yeah, it is quite complicated to explain what we do. So, what we already talked, we invest in the startup innovation project, but as the whole in energy, we have quite clear goal. First of all, is to reduce CO2 emissions in Europe until 2050, and reduce the use of fossil fuel across Europe, and also help to decarbonize industries. So what we do, for instance, we invested in the green steel, which consumes a lot of fossil fuels and emits a lot of CO2. So we are trying to build a new ecosystems. So we know that now we have zero green steel. So our goal is to make sure that in next 10, 20 years still be produced without the CO2. But also we work with the batteries. We know that the future will be electric cars and everything will be electric. So trying to help to build batteries ecosystem. And we are doing that by working with the industries. A bank is our shareholder as well. We are working with European Commission as well and with the industries. So we're kind of in the middle. But it's not only about the startups, but we also try to educate people. So until in the next 10, 20 years, we plan to educate 1 million people in the battery sector. So working, to be honest, in the whole supply chain. So yeah, it's us.
And Sama, about the jurisdiction and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, no, I think that that's a great question because that is really important for many investors, right? I mean, in my case, as an angel investor, I have been co-investing with, people all over the world, basically. Continents at least. But then, as an entrepreneur, once we noticed that we wanted to get a higher valuation, we found that these type of investors were basically in the US, even though they were investing in startups from Europe, Eastern Europe, and others that we map out. So, and that was a huge decision for us because it made us build the company as a Delaware company, right? Even though me and my co-founder will both be here in London. But from their point of view, the risk of investing in a company that is outside is that if there's a dispute, they will go through laws that they don't know necessarily, right? So I think like for startups in any specific region, they need to be aware of this, that if they plan to raise money from an international investor, they will have this as a main concern, right? If something happens, what do we do? Where do we go to? So you want to make it easier for them to feel secure that if something happens, which of course they believe is not going to be the case, but they need to cover, it's going to be through their own rules or something that they know how it goes.
Sure. Just one quick thing from the audience. Anybody from the European Union or the government side representing? Maybe halfway, Bartosz? Because I think that's one of the things that we didn't touch, right? Because we always have this competition, especially knowing my local ecosystem a bit here, is just like most of the VCs still, they have very strong ties either with the European Union money or with the national money. And I really think maybe because we have a very diverse group of, let's just say, people here, but I think that's also one of those factors that, let's just say, did not really reflect itself. Again, knowing some people that they are in the audience, anybody from LG here also? No, because also they are also something, because you mentioned about the electricity, and like I think they're like the top 3 battery producers in the world. And like these things, like let's just say that if they come to a market, sometimes for me, even one small company might be bigger than the whole European Union and let's just say those let's just say national and governmental factors. But the reality is the spotlight. The reality is that I see a lot of people say that, you know what, we have a lot of opportunities. So if somebody wants to know us, come over and just find us. And I would say the same thing also about especially family houses and also the VCs. And I was like, you're a startup, you sit down and pitch to me. And then I was like, nope, that's not what I do. Because we as a country, as a continent, as a VC, we did not pitch ourselves before to startups. And I really think that would save time for both parties. Like, I genuinely don't know why, let's just say, this part of the party, like not the scale-ups, but us, we're not pitching properly ourselves to others. How do we fix that? Look, kind of what we're doing here. And I was like, you know what? Like, Robert doesn't work in Brazil, you do. Like, you don't do investment in this kind of scale-ups, but he does. And that really helps you not to receive 7,000 emails that they are all unqualified. And let's just say Robert would get that because he needs it, but then they don't know his email and they know only yours. And so my question just goes into 2 things. First, this centralization, that we don't have this decentralized platform that everybody kind of, let's just say, can find each other. And then kind of this KYC that we try to have for our startups, but for ourselves. Where do you think we can find, maybe make this, let's just say, panel a bit more practical? And then when we leave here, then we just say that, you know what, after we leave, then they know that that's what I do.
I will start if I can. Because we had we tried as an innovation ecosystem, at least in here, we tried to build certain platforms with those kind of information. But it did not work. Yeah, so the data, well, everything is outdated. Yeah, nobody sees a value in updating that. I still do not see why, especially after that crazy hard 2 years when a lot of has changed on the market and still will. That's for sure. But I believe it's also come from the, let's say, the culture. We need to feel that we are more as a partners to ourselves, not as a top-down communication. Yeah. So this is what we need to think. And also, when I see my colleagues from the example in the US, so let's say that the power, the art of pitching comes from the kindergarten, yes, and cooperating with different people. Yeah, this is something that we still do not have here locally. We try to do this, but this is, let's say, not the thing that comes so natural with us. But I would say that these times are changing this to be more practical, to be more open. But yes, everybody should do their parts, and instead of sending the documentation, just the pitch deck, just to ask, is it a topic for you? If it is, I will send you the details. If not, just, it was nice to meet you. That's it, yeah? But to do this, we need to be aware of ourselves as a businessman, as the startuppers or scale-uppers or whatever, and be more humble again.
May I disagree?
I'm sorry?
Come on.
May I disagree?
Yes.
we agree.
Can you just disagree in
most
3
of the
minutes?
topics.
Because we have 3 minutes. So, and I can't believe that 1 hour passed that easy, but...
Yes, and of course we agree in most of the things that was been said here, but from this platform point of view, and of course this is VC market is very inefficient in terms of everybody talking to everybody, and at the end of the day, maybe 3 to 5% of the stocks end up with some transaction, which is the goal of the discussion. So yeah, I also saw many platforms. Last week we participated in reverse pitch, so investor pitched to invest to startups, and it was interesting experience. But I think that blockchain is changing this, trying to introduce some new ways of doing things. And in blockchain, you have everything digital from end to end, so it's much easier. You don't have to put this effort to update the system in this fast-changing environment. So these pros and cons are much more balanced to have some good decentralized system that will make these transactions maybe faster and more efficient. So there is some hope. And this is something that
it would make our life much easier.
If you don't mind, Robert, because maybe I can give a quick solution, because I think I already introduced this Consilience venture, and what they do is that it's totally decentralized. You put your startup there, then totally random, but already, let's just say, qualified experts would qualify those startups. And if they get enough number of the thumbs up that you understand that they are fine for you, then you as a person who would like to invest, go there. So there is no personal bias. There is no like a gut feeling that, oh, this is good and the other one is not. So it's personally, let's just say, totally unbiased toward the past and experiences. And it kind of works, I just wanted to,
Yeah, I was participating in similar project in US. I was a part of it, collapsed. It was even supported by some numbers, by some AI and so on, but didn't work.
But yeah, I think so just for one example, but I think that the best way would be just to go to talk to the VC, but also talk to the startup that VC funded. So for instance, we invested in the 400, now we have 200. So go and ask how we support them, whether we support them in networking, in the sales, and they will tell the truth that, yeah, they invested money, but they're not supporting us in sales. So just talk as well, go see who VC invested and try to talk to the portfolio companies, and probably you will know quite a lot of.
I would love to add about platforms, from my personal perspective. I hear message, but for me, platform is not, is not that meaningful, because I am a very people person. I need to get to know people. As an investor, I would be classified as cautious. Some people are very, could be very fast, great opportunity, they invest in many, and then, 80% fail and whatever, others make money, and that's, how they run their strategy. It's not for me. So for me, even if I imagine we have such a platform, it wouldn't change my day-to-day much, at least as we speak. As technology will evolve, maybe, new features will be added, maybe, new things where I can see myself with my style. I think it's also about investor style. Every investor is different, right?
I'm very happy that this panel is recorded because, let's just say, as I said, like I can just go back and I try to learn a lot from that, and also try to respect the time. I really would like to say thank you for all of you guys to give us your time and your experience. Hopefully, you would be somehow reachable for our scale-ups that they're here. They really need you and your money, and hopefully also that is the opportunity to meet them face to face. And with that, I would just try to say thank you and looking forward to seeing you during the event. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.